is where the fun begins. This is where the fun begins. This is where the fun. This is where the fun. This is where the fun begins.
Who's the big guy with the muscles?
This is where the fun begins.
Who's the big guy with the muscles?
Happy Saturday afternoon. This is Dole. And I don't know about you, but I'm ready to flip some Star Wars. All right, let's do this. Exit full screen layout. See, I can do this. I'm an adult. Fantastic stuff. All right. Oh, spoiler alert, I guess. Here we go. Star Wars Galaxy Magazine. All right, issue number 2 from Topps. Hope everyone can hear me. Yeah, here we go. Let's get into it. This is episode. I guess it is episode 2. Also, Star Wars Galaxy Magazine. Issue 2 from winter 1995. These were quarterly. And yeah, so here we go. We've got these beautiful covers. Again, we're going to go through. We're going to talk about the cover artist shortly once we get to that article. They have in this one, this is the official Lucasfilm magazine. We're going to talk about the new Mos Eisley comics. There was a Falcon poster. No, I do not have the poster. And new toy secrets revealed. So you got to remember, we're still haven't hit that point of like Power of the Force 2 coming out yet. This is from winter 1995. They say it was quarterly. Inside, it also says, the last issue came out 3 months ago. This was the issue before. For those who can't see that, it said it came out of fall of 1994. And this one's winter of 1995. That sounds to me like a full year. Anyways, I guess we're going to get into it. The early 90s was a wild time. Here we go. We kick it off with a nice, beautiful advert for Topps Wide Vision. These wide vision cards all started coming out around the same time. They started off with A New Hope, then obviously went into Empire and went into Return of the Jedi. Here's where they taught the Bob Woods. It's funny. I jumped onto LinkedIn not to go look for a job. I actually went to go try to find this guy right here, the editor here, Bob Woods, because I had questions for him, and it was actually mainly about this issue says fall 1995. The last issue says, this one says winter 95. The last issue says fall 94. What is it? How long was it between issues? I need to know. And he kind of breaks down what we're going to be looking at in this magazine, and hints that get the first scoop of a major Star Wars event that's coming, the first one since probably Return of the Jedi. Here you go. Now it's like, get your subscriptions, folks. You're going to get free stuff like these wide vision cards. Letter column. I was kind of hoping for some sad comments. Everyone seems to be really, really into this magazine after the first one, and I think that's really cool. And even some of them were just like, "Hey, I'm 50 years old. I'm probably not even supposed to be in the demographic of loving Star Wars." It's like, oh, dude, if you could go back 30 years in the future, we're all like 50 years old now, and we're all still loving Star Wars. So now, before I get any further, I just want to quickly say hello to the chat. There's a few of you here. Steve 3, my boy Steve, he is here. The Randalorian. Yes, I also agree they were sick. Odin01 has a question. Was this a precursor to Insider or different altogether? This is a precursor to Star Wars Insider, and I do believe Bantha Tracks was still happening at that time. Uh, Steve 3, anything like this was great hit during the dark times. Uh, Funny you say that because even in the description, I believe these magazines, these cards, and something else I'm going to get into as well because they're going to bring it up here in one of the articles. I believe these were what was. This is now we're starting to get out of the dark times of collecting and just Star Wars in general because now some novels have come out at this point. Some a couple Super Nintendo video games have come out at this point, and now trading cards, and now even things like this. And I don't know anyone who ever owned any of these Star Wars vinyl figures from Screamin'. I do have the Han in Stormtrooper disguise that Applause came out with. So, uh, and J Rod is here. Hey man, how's it going? Yeah, let's carry on. Yeah, if anyone ever had any of these Star Wars vinyl models or know anyone that did, let me know. They continue on the letter column. Here's a dude that made his like Boba Fett costume. So this is like even a precursor to 501st at this point. Steve will probably be a better more knowledgeable about when 501st probably kicked off than I would be. But he's pretty stoked about his Boba Fett costume. He's a big Boba Fett fan. They all existed back then. Uh, it was awesome stuff. Now, now the Star Wars technical journals. This is something else I wanted to bring up too. So they had 3 of these come out, and then they re-released these in a hardcover book. And I'm not quite sure if any of you had the hardcover book. I did. I still have mine. And that's going to be an episode of Flipp'n Star Wars altogether when we go through that old 90s technical journal uh, of all the ships and blasters. You would think I'm the worst at remembering the names for blasters. Again, this is something that like Steve 3 can like, he'll look at a blaster and be like, oi, that's a 516 E11 31 12 blaster from Empire Strikes Back, and I'll be like, yeah, all right. But he knows it. He knows all of it. I asked him if he wanted to be part of it today, and he's like, no, I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna watch and make stuff because that's what he's doing. He's making like E537 blasters or whatever they're called or something. I'm sure of it. Slade Super Agent, aka Nate DeWitt. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Oz, thank you for being here too. I'm glad you popped in to say hi. Uh, all right, let's continue. So here we've got a whole how the thing now they're talking about this new book coming out uh for it's like an archives. It's like props and storyboards and concept art for Lucasfilm more or less and Industrial Light and Magic. So it's got Indiana Jones, it's got Star Wars. Again, this is when all this stuff was very, very, very new. And on the next page, this is the big exclusive that they had. They were super proud about Shadows of the Empire. And yes, that following year in 1996, I do believe, it's this Shadows of the Empire completely takes over. So by the end of 95, I believe we're already getting Power of the Force figures, or they might have already been started at this point as well. They already might be out. But I remember like Shadows of the Empire, it was like they had the N64 game, they had the book, they had the soundtrack, they had the comics, and they did have a full line of figures. Again, we're going to get way more into Shadows of the Empire in a later episode. And I want to talk about those collectibles. I want to talk about those I want to talk about those action figures. I want to talk about the video game. In fact, that is an episode Steve 3 is going to have to be on because when he was getting his penis removed up here in Vancouver to take care of our healthcare, he was playing Shadows of the Empire with an ice pack on his nutsack in my living room. So I'm going to need him here to help me do a review of that game and just to see if we still holds up. I remember just working and looking like that frog that plays harmonica in the Return of the Jedi Special Edition, just sitting there doing my job, and I could hear the game in the background, and it was like, oh man, it just hearing the game, it took me, it just took me back, and it made me really, really happy. Hang on, I'm just gonna go check out the chat here before I turn the page. I have to look from side to side here. So my apologies, folks, if it seems a little slow. Yes, right? Great book, great game. Absolutely agree. Thanks, Steve. Uh Slade, Thursday was the 44th anniversary of the holiday special. Well, then that means next year's the 45th. Oh, dear God. We're going to have to do something big. Well, I want to do something big for it. I know Disneyland has now started doing, Disneyland and Disney World have started doing stuff for the holiday special. I think that's super fun. Even Star Wars itself is just starting to kind of embrace it for the, you know, for whatever it is, right? Dash Rengar. Yes, Trapper 31794. Yes, happy Life Day. Happy Life Day, everyone. Yes. Oh, good. Good. I'm glad you're happy to help. Odin, I have the Shadows audiobook on tape, which I listened to while going to bed in middle school so many times. Dude, I did the same thing with the soundtrack. I found the soundtrack on a band trip, not knowing that that book had a soundtrack, and I remember like just going to like one of the record stores because those existed back then, and I was just like, "What is this?" Because I always check the soundtracks because you just never know. Uh, Steve, three. About time they released that one on Blu-ray so we could watch and drink every year, dude. Yes, and do a sing along with Carrie. I am super. I don't know. I don't know if it's a respect for George Lucas thing or like I was about to make a snide remark, but like Disney cares about George Lucas. But I also am surprised they have never released it by any means. I'm going to keep going here. The roll call. So here we've got some really cool artwork here. I'll see if I can bring it a little closer. The they're talking about the role playing game, which I think is pretty cool. And here we're talking about now. I want to say this is Dawn Post. Yes. So now they're talking about their Dawn Post is going to now be releasing helmets of Boba Fett, Darth Vader, and as well we're going to get some latex masks of certain aliens. Those are not 501st approved, by the way, for anyone who doesn't know. Uh, we've got some more Star Wars fine arts, but it's funny enough they're talking about just some more art books that are coming up. As well as this just okay. So here we go. Here is the article. This just in: Kenner back in action, as if you need any more proof that Star Wars is enjoying a tremendous resurgence. Kenner is about to launch a major new toy line based on the trilogy. Previewed in a shroud of secrecy at February's Toy Fair in New York, the action figures and vehicles essentially are improved versions of old favorites. For example, Luke and Han's likenesses are more detailed, and their bodies are bulked up. They've been working out on the solo flex, no doubt. Womp womp, dad joke there. The Landspeeder and TIE Fighter are more weathered and battle worn thanks to a new molding process that eliminates decals. Despite rumors to the contrary, the action figures will remain standard size, so they'll fit in vehicles. The new line should start rolling out this summer and fall. We'll have an exclusive, more extensive preview in issue 3. Well, good news for everybody. Spoiler alert, that'll be the next issue. We're gonna go we'll do that one in a couple weeks. So what's really cool, so I love that they're talking about bulked up, so they're kind of already getting people prepared. And I had to go back and I had to do some journalistic research on this one. People were like, despite what the rumors were, so there were already rumors that Star Wars was making a comeback. Here was the kicker: people thought they were going to be 5 or 6-inch action figures to match the scale of Toy Biz and Batman, like Toy Biz X-Men and Batman at that time. So people thought they were going to be bigger figures. So maybe was I wrong, or am I wrong? Where I think the people don't want 6-inch, and that they should just kill the Black Series line. I do think they should, but I mean, it is kind of interesting that people were already starting rumors of a bigger toy line back in 94, 95. Uh, Tops expands the cards universe, so this is where they're coming out with the art of stuff. This is going to be Star Wars Galaxy cards, all of that stuff that are coming out. Uh, and again, they're doing everything. Pogs, they're talking about an online game for the first time. This is in '95. You got to remember, we're like dialing in, and our modems are making weird ass sounds and shit. So it's like we're tying up the phone line. You're trying to play this game, and your mom picks up the phone. That's it. Your game's done. But they were already looking to do it. Lucas Games, they were all for it, and it was going to be an X-wing game. And wanted new Master Vision, so we're getting Master Vision cards as well. So this is all a preview of a heads up of the tsunami of merchandise and resurgence of Star Wars that we are about to see. And to me, this is like so exciting because I do remember this time really, really well. And I was saying last night, or no, I wasn't saying last night. This was on Thursday night. I was on Toy Frenzy, and I was talking about how these companies like Lucasfilm, like Warner Brothers, like Marvel, even back before Disney bought Marvel, if something was coming up and a bigger thing, they'll already start kind of subtly planting the seeds of us to get excited about it. So even before this tsunami of merch, we were already starting to get novels and a couple Dark Horse comics. So they were already kind of like trickling things in. And now they're getting more and more ready because we know what's coming up at the end of the 90s. Late 90s, we're getting special editions, which then reintroduces everybody in a new generation to Star Wars, the original trilogy, then to just guide us into episode 1. So it's really interesting to see how this was all like plotted and planned out. All of these releases and timing was all very well thought out and planned. So kudos. Also, speaking of like trickling in those little bits to remind people Star Wars exists, I remember this commercial very, very well. I don't know if anyone else does. The Energizer Bunny versus Darth Vader on Bespin. And then Darth Vader's lightsaber, spoiler alert, Darth Vader's lightsaber runs out of his batteries die. And sure enough, he's using like Duracell or something, but it's for the Energizer, the battery wars of the 90s. That was believe it or not, that actually was a thing. Star Wars Blueprints coming out. Cloning Yoda. Funny, that took like 40 years to get around to. Let's see, what is this about? Collectible. Oh, they're doing a foam latex 1-to-1 scale Yoda. Who are they? That's a great question. It just says sculptors. Now elusive originals. This might be the first I've heard of elusive originals. They do maquettes and all this kind of stuff. I don't know who they are. Before I turn the page, let's have a quick look at the chat. The audiobook, yeah, they about time they released it on Blue. Yeah. I already said those ones. Okay, good to know that I wasn't the only one to own soundtrack and audiobook. Yes, you were not the only one. Spaceboy 78. I'm so flippin' happy, Ryan, to see episode 2 of this. Right. Well, thank you for being here and thank you for hanging out and watching along. Here's our preview already for next issue, which already, I guess, every 3 months these were coming out. So they're going to have, again, they just talked about the arts for the front cover. They kind of give you the poster. It's all, let's face it, all these things that they're doing here, Dark Horse poster, collectibles, role-playing fiction, video and computer games, cyber notes, all this stuff. That's how they do every issue. All right, Dave Dorman. You will probably know him best from Dark Horse Comics. He was doing a lot of the covers. So if you're thinking about Dark Empire 2, Droids, oh gosh, what else was back then? Tales of the Jedi. Oh, those are the only ones I can come to mind right now. But those are his covers. Oh, yep, sure enough, and there we are. So that's from Tales. This Jabba the Hutt cover, this one that really always stands out to me. I do believe I own this comic strictly for the cover. This was from Tales of the Jedi. These are from Dark Empire, and that's from Tales of the Jedi as well. This is from the adaptation, I believe. Oh, it was promo art. That was that one. See, did some Batman stuff. Great stuff. Alien versus Predator, Indiana Jones, Mike Tyson, randomly. All great stuff. And I know like nothing says 90s to me. Like when I'm thinking about like horror alien monsters, uh Alien versus Predator is definitely a standout from the 90s. That was like a big thing. Here we go. We've got the Star Wars radio drama. We've got an actual script here uh, that you can just read along or make yourself. If you want myself and Abby and Jake and Craig to read this and do our own radio show, let's face it, we all want to hear Craig's Luke Skywalker impression. It might turn into the Joker, but let's face it, we all want to hear it. Here they got a small photo here from their archives of Anthony Daniels and Mark Hamill also reading from the radio play. And here we go as well. The little advert here at the bottom kind of saying, hey, you can actually buy the scripts for this. It's in a book. Because you got to remember, at the end of the day, this magazine is not just about information. It's also a catalog in a sense, because this is all about stuff you should buy. So buy it. You like it? We got it. You should buy it. So yes, here's a lot of words. I got a reader survey. You know what? When we go through every issue, there's 13 issues of this. When we get to at the end of issue 13, we're going to take this reader survey. We're going to we're going to see where we fit into all this. I like question number 25. Have you experienced Star Tours at a Disney theme park which simulates a Star Wars adventure? And how was they even ask like, how was your experience with that? Would you attend a Star Wars convention? Right? It's kind of funny. Like, would you attend a Star Wars convention? I bet you they took that to heart, and I bet you it might have been this survey that was probably a huge part of how Celebration came to be in the first place, which is kind of fun. This is interesting. So this is this piece of art here. It's for, it was made for the magazine. This is to kick off a new campaign for your Star Wars role-playing tabletop game. These vehicles that we see here, and including these droids back here. Sorry, I'm gonna do that again. Back here, these are all, and these ones here as well. These are toys that almost came out after Return of the Jedi. So there was going to, and we're going to get into that. These are in these are in this magazine, where they talk about expanding the Star Wars universe past the movies. There were no movies coming out, so Kenner was thinking like, oh, how do we build upon this? They were going to make new aliens, new just new ships, new mini rigs, all this kind of stuff, and they were like going to build upon Star Wars. So you could just keep playing. And here we go. Here's some of them, right? But they had a guy making customs coming in and making them, and I thought that was actually really cool. And there's that ship as well, the one that we see on the side there. Very cool stuff. But these were supposed to come out, I do believe, in actual like real lifeness. Confessions of a Super Gamer. Well, me being a super gamer myself, I can't say I'm the ultimate super gamer, because I do have Super Star Wars and I have Super Return of the Jedi. I am missing Super Empire Strikes Back. I have played that game and I've conquered it. For some reason or another, I do not own it. I do think Super Return of the Jedi is the best of the three. I'm not just saying that because Return of the Jedi is one of my favorite movies. Super Return of the Jedi had more characters you could play as, and you could select characters for certain levels. So if you're on the barge, you could choose between Princess Leia in her Hut Slayer fire spray gear, or you could or you choose Luke Skywalker. You could, when you go into Jabba's palace, you could play as Bosch. Like they had 3 different versions of Leia you could play as. You could play as Wicket. You could play as Luke, Han, Chewie, uh, and depending on just where you were and what levels you were in the stories, it's just such a fun game. It was super addictive. I did finish. I got to a point where I played this game so much that I could finish Super Return of the Jedi, uh, like without losing a life. And that to me is just like that's insane. I don't think I could do it again. I know they re-released Super Star Wars for like PlayStation 4, and I don't think I made it to even level 4. Because again, these games were you had to do the grind if you wanted to get good at them. These were not easy games. But once Luke got some force skills, like in Empire Strikes Back, easy peasy, easy peasy. And here they got some screen grabs of the game that's about to come out. But yeah, seeing this, I remember seeing this in like Game Pro and Electronic Gaming Monthly and stuff like that, and just being like super excited about how good this game looked. It's funny when you think back, it's like 1995, and you're like, this is peak gaming. Gaming will never get better than 16-bit. There's no way. And now we live in a life of Battlefront 2, which is just like I still play it. It's still addictive and fun. And here they got some tips for you already. So it's just like, hey, if you need to go find some of them extra 1-ups and lightsabers and hearts and stuff, go check these areas. I thought that was kind of cool. Here they're telling you could still get the premiere issues, so go ahead and order it if you missed it. Ad for Dark Horse Comics. Now we get into newspaper, the newspaper comic book run. So they kind of talk about the characters that could be the precursor to. Oh, let's see if I can. Sorry, folks. Let me see if I can get that closer. I think we might have a precursor to Frog Lady over here. It's always kind of interesting to see, you know, what shows up somewhere later in Star Wars. It always seems like things always seem to kind of come around uh, in some form or fashion, even if it's not even if it's not exact. We can always see similar references to something, uh, which I think is pretty cool. Here's our Tales from Mos Eisley. For those who don't know, I am very big right now on the Mos Eisley Cantina and trying to collect all the toys and figures that go with it. Uh, I love it. I love it. I'm having so much fun. This is a very, very, very cheesy comic, but it is very well drawn. Uh, but yeah, it's like all this stuff, and then it ends with a gag, and you're just like, ha, ha, ha. It's a very, I don't know. It's for kids, but that's okay. Nothing wrong with that. Uh, then we get into we're into the star effects. So this is where they talk about making movies, and they usually talk about the VFX, the special effects, costumes, all this stuff. This is about the concept art, building Darth Vader. Uh, and here we also get into AT-ATs and the storyboards and the explosion, just what it took to make all this stuff. I know that's all like back then, this was like how you learned about this stuff. Now you go on buy any Star Wars DVD that came out when Episode 3 came out, or when just anytime they release the trilogy, there's always big documentaries on the making of Star Wars. So now we know exactly how all this stuff was made, and it's I don't know. To me, this stuff I ate this stuff up, and it's kind of funny. I can't say it didn't influence uh, my career path in the future, because sure enough, working in animation and VFX, I 100% blame this. This is I could be making way more money if it influenced me to do something else completely. The Phantom toys. Now here we talk. Remember what I was talking about. In '86, Kenner was to release a new line of Star Wars action figures and vehicles, but its plans were '86. That means that they don't have it anymore. Here are the toys you never saw. Here's something interesting. You see this dude here? This that this guard here, this Atha Prime, and this character shows up as as a guard for Shizor, I believe, or a Coruscant guard uh, in Shadows of the Empire. So again, they took some of this and they brought it back, and this character did eventually get a toy. It's I have it. I should have had it brought out and ready. I had everything else ready, but I should have had this one ready to go. I do dig this color of X-wing. It's very Poe Dameron-y to me. They were going to have an add-on for the Falcon, which again, we got something similar in Solo of all things. But I do love this '80s style pod that they have for it. It's I kind of would love to see this come out and get a little bit of resurgence and some love. Even if they were going to add it to the Legacy Falcon, which I own, by the way. And I like the orange snow speeder, which was supposed to be for like desert planets. And I like that they took Squid Head, popped his head off, and then just flipped it around to make a new character. You could even see where the peg hole was for his head. Uh, but yeah, they were going to do a whole new line. I not sure how it would have done. I mean, because even at that point, like what 85, they were doing droids and Ewoks cartoons, and I'm not quite sure how well those did. I don't remember them necessarily. I don't remember droids and Ewoks warming the pegs necessarily, but I don't know if their sales were huge. Hence, why this was probably like, if there's no movies, if there's no cartoons, we'll scrap it. Um, and then here we've got okay. So at the end of the last issue too, they had cyber notes where it was explaining to you this is what you want to do. This is how you want to get set up for the internet. These are the websites you want to go to. These are your resources because they said eventually you're going to be buying and collecting and tracking your collections online. They totally predicted the future on that. That's exactly what we do. Every pre-order, we got to do it online. We got to do it through our phone. We have the Toy Box app on our phones. That's how we track our collections. What do we need? What are we missing? Very easy to handle. And here they have this one too, the email auctioneer. And here it talks about people auctioning Star Wars items, and they're doing it via email where you can just be like, here's your host Hoffman, guess, here's his AOL address, and he's running a business where he sells and helps people sell their Star Wars stuff via an auction through email. So right already, like this is 95. Like we're what? 10 years away, maybe less from an actual eBay. So they were already doing online auctions back then. So to me, I always thought that was really, really cool. News websites are starting to pop up for Star Wars, and this is where they're talking about this, and they're talking about selling cards and books and how much things are worth and where to get resources on that. Um, I like this. The internet jargon, do's and don'ts for Star Wars collectors on the net. So they're talking about abbreviations. I like the first like don'ts is like don't be rude, don't be a jerk, and it was just kind of like so already trolls were already starting to emerge the moment the internet did. It's just kind of one created the other, and they kind of talk about all the like just so you know what these abbreviations mean so you can be hip with these kids online. 12 backs, right? ANH for A New Hope, BTW, by the way, carded, COTF, Champions of the Force, right? It's your grading from C10, C1 to C10. uh what's a fact? Well, that's a frequently asked question, of course. Flame, what happens to a user who doesn't follow proper etiquette? I don't think I've heard that term in so long. The old internet flame wars of the 90s. A gonk, yeah, we all know, like mint in box, mint on card. It's kind of funny how all of that just like we needed that explained to us, right? And this whole thing goes on through here. This is why I want to talk to the editor. Like things are kind of just scattered. Uh, but it is interesting to read about online auctioning in the 90s and how that was actually a thing. I love that stuff. And then they got your little trivia thing here at the end. You fill it out, you win prizes. You can win a vinyl Boba Fett mask, helmet, mask slash helmet. Oh, see, that was Don Post's first problem, courtesy of Don Post Studios, and an uncut sheet of Star Wars caps, Pogs, courtesy of Tops. And your third prize is a poster from the Art of Star Wars exhibit. What's funny is the 19 third prizes are probably more valuable than the second and first prize winners. Right? Because if you said a poster from the Art of Star Wars exhibit, I would 100% take that over the Dom Post Boba Fett and the sheet of uncut Pogs. So, to the 19 people who got third place, congratulations. You probably struck some gold there. And here we go, the Art of Star Wars Volume 2. These also became trading cards in their own right. And here's our cover artist, and here is an advertisement and order form to order his art book. Really, really cool stuff. Let's before we end it, let's just go to the chat. Let's park my diecast Falcon I got in Toronto nearby, because we all love the Millennium Falcon. This is from Galoob. This is from the Micro Machine series. Let's turn those guns around. Right, beautiful stuff. Let's take a look here. Not too. Guys are all pretty quiet. No, that's okay. That is okay. Odin 1. I played some online text-based multiplayer RPGs called Muds and Mushes in the 90s, and one was Star Wars. Unofficial, but maybe the first Star Wars online game. That's actually really, really cool. Right? It's the escape pod from our Falcon. Yeah, I think we do have there's that side hatch that has the Falcon, or has the escape pod on our Falcon. It's and I do have to say ours now because Steve 3's got one too, and I want that front piece though. I want that retro 80s front piece. Atha Prime, he became a member of the Sentinels that guarded the Emperor in Dark Empire. Thank you. That's it. Because he came with the comic book line, which was Dark Empire. I just got that Luke. I just got the Dark Empire Luke from Power of the Force and the Emperor clone from Power of the Force. I love that line of toys. I know they came out with comic book 2-packs, which are now insanely expensive. Some of those go for like $300. It is so frustrating, but man, I'm having so much fun going back and trying to buy and collect and find Star Wars figures from like 10 years ago and 20 years ago. There was so much good stuff put out, which has me going, why did I buy so little back then? Yeah, because I know the answer to that. I wasn't making as much money back then. But now it's kind of like the last few years of just kind of last couple of years, I guess mostly. It's just, trying to get some of that cool stuff that I kind of forgot existed. And, the Dark Empire figures are definitely a part of that. I would love it. I'm kind of bummed out that Black Series is getting a Mara Jade figure. I would love a new 3.75 Mara Jade. I think I've got just the one that was a comic book 2-pack with Luke. But again, I kind of wish they would just bring Mara Jade into the whole Disney fold of everything to begin with. Hang on, let's just throw in some more 90s fun Star Wars while we're at it. And oh, you stole that from my pile. I did not steal that from your pile. You put that back. I grabbed that Falcon, this beautiful diecast Falcon here. I grabbed that out of that little jar of just miscellaneous Micro Machine. So don't you dare. And I love that thing. It is the best. I got a Sandcrawler too, because who doesn't love a good Sandcrawler? But that's it. This is the episode. Thank you for flipping some Star Wars with me on this beautiful Saturday afternoon, and for whenever you watch it. if you watch it, if you're watching this on a later date and a later time. So hopefully I'll be doing this again. I'm going to try and do these every 2 weeks. I apologize for the big break. Uh, Halloween and Toronto and work kind of got in the way, but now things are kind of back to normal. I would like to do one of these at Christmas time as well, back at my parents' place, because that's where a lot of my micro machines and all that stuff. Oh, what is it? Steve 3, open that scout head and show us what's inside. Sure thing. There is a little scene of Endor on the inside and a little minifig of a scout trooper as well. Same with the Jawa, and I got Greedo here as well somewhere, right? These things are great. I remember these. I never had one. I had some of the heads that fold, the big heads that fold open, and had multiple figures and ships. Uh, Again, I would love to do a Micro Machines review episode of Flippin' Star Wars as well, uh, because those are so much fun, and it's fun seeing people starting to get back into those as well, thanks to Star Wars Galaxy Squadron. Another great set of toys. So, uh, yeah, again, I just love talking about Star Wars toys. It's so much fun. Uh, and yeah, really enjoyed the concept and the video. Thanks. You're welcome, Odin, and thank you for hanging out with me. So, but that's it. I'm gonna call it a day. You can find me later tonight. I'm gonna be on Boba Squadron on the Toying Around channel with Kevin and Paul, and we are going to break down the latest episode of Andor on Disney Plus. So please check that out, because I guarantee you, before all of this starts, there's going to be way more toy talk and collector talk. That's just how it goes. These are marathon streams when you go onto Toying Around, to say the least. I will also be free to check out Gotham City Tonight, which is my other channel. We do a tribute episode to Kevin Conroy, and we talk about how amazing he is. So please check that out. That's on Gotham City Tonight. And on Tuesday there's a new episode of Toying Around, and please check out What Yes Have Some Podcast, their new channel. They've got a contest going up where you can get a signed poster of Ghostbusters Afterlife with all the cast. They have that going on as well. They've got exclusive interviews with Eric Wright from Ghost Corps. They've got more coming up with some major stars. I am not even kidding you, from Ghostbusters. So please check that out. And you know what? Uh, and thanks, Ryan. Shadows of the Empire in January. Absolutely. And because Steve will actually be up north with me around that time, sometime in January. And I think him and I will just be in the same room, and we'll do some Shadows of the Empire. So again, thank you everyone so much. Thank you for putting up with all the plugs. I will see you next Tuesday, or this Tuesday, I guess. I can't say next Tuesday because it's already past the last Tuesday. So I'll see you on Tuesday for Toy Anxiety. See you in a couple weeks for Flipping Around. Jeez, I'm all over the place today. I need another afternoon coffee. All right, everyone. Take care and have a great afternoon, and enjoy your week in Star Wars.